These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
Hats, please. Hats, please.
Okay, yeah. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes of September 18th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Petitions, communications, and public hearings. Tony Alavito wishes to address council concerning Washington Irving and turning it into a boys girls club and the demolition of the YMCA.
All right, my name's Anthony Olavito, and I'm representing the Washington Irving alumni. And of course, the school board has abandoned the school, and the school is actually in better shape than it's ever been. If you take a tour of it, you're going to notice that we have a new gymnasium that's not probably only 20 years old. New addition, cafeteria. And if you look at the exterior, you're going to notice new windows. It has a new boiler system, air conditioning. And I just see all these assets and I think, wow, we should still make some kind of use out of it. And I think instead of making it a liability and letting it just go, that we should repurpose it. And I think the best way to flip the script would be to create a boys and girls club out of it, to where we could have after-school programs and drug prevention awareness, and also to help the kids work on their physical beings. And I think it has a lot to offer. And I think it would make a good youth center. Now, I'm not talking like a Genesis youth center that was demoed up on my street, because that's a different kind of youth center, where it's more of a, to help, the runaways. And whereas the YMCA was more towards adults. Because when you're adult, you're getting out in the world, you're getting your wings, they say, and you should be able to provide for yourself, like join a fitness club once you're a certain age. Whereas a boys and girls club is going to be more for the younger kids. And it really would be like a school, kind of. And I can't understand why the school board abandoned ship with all this investment in this building. And WI is really a landmark. When you come through town, you look up there and you say, wow, look at that school. And if you look at the exterior, you're going to say, God darn, it's nice. And when I went to school there, it was an Ivy school. I had Ivy growing up. All right, on to the next one. Let's talk about the Harrison County YMCA up on Lawrence Hill. Now, they defunct. And really, they've been a liability up there, because Lawrence Hill is named after the founding father of the water board. He put in the number one primary main that came to the city of Clarksburg. So we built the city on. And actually, he's one of the main architects of the courthouse. Okay, now what my problem is, the YMCA has got a storm drain problem. They're running their water on both sides, South 7th Street and South Chestnut Street. Each one of those sites were owned by the water board. They were supposed to be both water tank sites, but South Chestnut was the water tank site up to 2000. In 2000, they decided they wanted to move the water tank. Actually, there was 4 water tanks on South Chestnut Street. So they decided to build a new water tank, 2 million-gallon water tank up on South 2nd. But an engineering flaw happened. The engineer put it at too high of an elevation. So now what's happening, this 2 million-gallon water tank's only filling up 750,000 gallons, less than 1 million gallons. So now we've been running at a deficit. Whereas if we had 4 water tanks on South Chestnut, we'd be able to turn the water off during floods and still be able to run it because we'd have 4 million gallons. During droughts, we're gonna need that 4 million gallons to get to. That's all. All right.
City manager's report and update. So we'll start with the city parks. So closure for the pool is near complete. Pickleball, they've been hosting tournaments, and that new facility is being used constantly and will stay open until the weather cools off a bit. They had a final show of the season, which is October 4th, and tickets are still available. Baseball and soccer are in full swing. There's different leagues using the fields. A generator has been rented and used for the soccer field only, and they bought a new zero-turn motor for the parks. Code enforcement, so they've been busy wrapping up our paving project. We've submitted grants for reimbursements. We've had a number of internal meetings and external meetings with other levels of government. We issued 96 building permits with a cost of just over $925,000. Inspectors have been keeping daily logs. All vacant and condemned properties are being checked weekly as well, and there's 3 encampments that have been dispersed. In finance, B&O taxes for September were almost $62,000. Hotel tax was just over $28,000, and everything else we collect in the city is listed below. The fire department responded to 256 calls for the month of September. Those numbers were as of September 30th. They responded to 1 garage fire on September 1st. The garage was in use at the time of the incident with significant damage. The fire marshals completed 10 initial inspections and 4 certificate of occupancy inspections. Both ladder truck 24 and truck 21 were tested by the command fire apparatus testing, and they passed. Next, we're on to grants and community development. So we've applied for a couple of new grants. Our director in that department, she's also been following up with the state and watching what's happening with the grants because of the federal budget and everything that's been happening with that. We're working with nonprofits to fund scanning both the Waldo and the golf building. We're also working to fund Christmas in the parks with the park director doing a lights program for that. There's SHPO funding that we're applying for, and we are following up on our DOJ grants, as was announced by the mayor, the splash pad grant. We've been told that we were getting that grant and we're waiting notice to proceed. Once that goes out, as I mentioned to council previously, we'll be putting out bids for plans. We've also requested funding from Natterfort and from the county. And we've completed our CBS action plan. We have 2026 requests, as well as other grants and foundation efforts we're working on currently. The police department has responded to 1,950 calls for service in the month of September. Background investigations are being conducted for police applicants, and motorists are encouraged to use alternate routes while traveling locally to avoid the construction of the 2nd Street Bridge, especially during rush hour. Public Works has been very busy helping clean up and set up for festivals. Right now, they have ongoing work with the citywide cleanup. They are doing street sweeping and neighborhood grass cutting as well, and pothole patching as weather allows. They've responded to 60 grass orders and 13 trash orders. They've also had 65 gallons of leachate water released in September. They've collected 37,000 pounds of yard waste and processed 42,000 pounds of wood waste. They are finishing up some changes at the Northview Fire. The traffic has been busy painting lines, installing new signs in different areas of the city. They've removed flower pots and reinstalled trash cans after the festival. They've answered 13 after-hour pages and 1,953 phone calls have come into the department. The Robinson's Grand listing for the month of October has quite a bit of events going on. For more tickets and information at therobinsongrand.com is where you can find those. The Sewer and Sanitary Department has responded to 20 sewer calls. The used back truck on a manhole was used at Main Street and 2nd. We've been working with the construction crews whenever there is an incident, being out there to assist with our lines. They've cleaned all the lift stations. They also received their 2-year DEP inspection results back. They received 1 NOV for a dry weather overflow back in February due to SCADA system and pumps failing, and the issue was addressed promptly in the same month. Sanitary board updates, so there's a number of projects going on, and as of right now, everything is on schedule. And the purchase of the Summit Park PSD was sent to the West Virginia Public Service Commission in September, so we're looking to hear back from that soon. And a reminder to the public to please not flush baby wipes or flushable wipes down the drains. They do not dissolve and can cause blockages in the sewer line as well as damage to the pumps. City clerk's information, a zoning form in connection with an application to operate an ABCA licensed Class B establishment was filed by La Tapatia Super Mercado LLC, 415 Westmore Avenue, returned to the applicant on September the 19th. No unfinished business. New business, consideration of first reading of an ordinance of the city of Clarksburg to amend zoning ordinance to rezone and reclassify 1400 North 19th Street from R3 to R2.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Discussion. So I have some questions about, I understand Northview Elementary School is currently in R3, right? So we want to move to an R2. So I'm looking here at R3, between R3 and the R2 zone. And I'm seeing even with the R2 zone's contingencies, the only thing that I really see different between R3 and R2 is lodge and private club, which is of a non-commercial character. Is there anything else that is not in an R3? I mean, that is in an R3 that is not in R2. Because when I read here this contingency list for an R2, it's apartment houses, congregate living facilities, non-transient with more than 16 occupants, boarding houses, non-transient, convents, dormitories, fraternities and sororities, monasteries, hotels, non-transient, live/work units, motels, non-transient, vacation timeshare properties. So these are, and I guess for R2 too, the contingency, there's a non-commercial gardens, church or temple, college or university, group homes, municipal government building, professional office and in residence of practicing professional person, public library, museum, public park or public recreation facility, school, in a public school or public or private school. So I have some questions. I'm like, if I'm reading the ordinance 1323.01 right, it says R2, this is a single family dwelling district. Requirements for minimum lot size and ground floor area of structures are considered less stringent than the requirements of a R1 district. If everything that I read in R2, are those contingent for R2? Is those uses that an R2 could have?
Yes, but you can't put a regular apartment block in. You can't put a multi-use home in that's not a single-family dwelling. So by changing it to R2, what you do is you either turn that school into one big house, or you have to tear it down and build single-family dwellings like the rest of the neighborhood is.
Okay,
There is a bunch of bullet points, like you can put in a monastery, you can put in those things, but you can't put in a regular apartment.
so essentially, everything that I pretty much read there are contingent. You would have to bulldoze the school first and build those.
Single-family dwellings, yes.
Okay, so if someone wants to buy at the auction, Northview Elementary, and they don't want to bulldoze it, they would just have to purchase it as a single-family dwelling. It would pretty much be their house.
No, they could purchase it with the intent of coming to the planning commission and then to council with a plan on what they want to do with it. What this does is, if it's R3, it stops somebody from buying it and doing whatever they want, unfiltered, unchecked.
But
This gives the planning commission, which you sit on, and council, which you sit on, the opportunity to say, you know what, your plan doesn't work with our vision for the neighborhood.
okay, so with that said, let me read the contingent uses for R3 for you. How about that? So lodge or private club, which is non-commercial in character, professional office and residence of practicing profession person, municipal government building, public library, museum, public park, or public recreation facility, school, public or private, non-commercial gardens, church or temple, college or university, group homes. R3 says is a district established to permit single-family and two-family dwellings. Normally, this district is located in areas where many two-family dwellings have already occurred and are acceptable in neighborhoods so zoned. So apparently, right now, they can only use it for these purposes.
And apartments,
Okay, in apartments.
yes, and that's.
So we're gonna restrict apartment, that being used for
Yes, we're going
apartments.
to, the suggestion is that you put more controls in place so that the public has some input, council has some input, to make sure what's going into those buildings is what the neighborhood wants to be put in. It's a protection.
I mean, I don't see where it's anything different from R3 to R2 though.
It is. Single-family dwelling, multi-family dwelling, that's a big difference. And we hear from a lot of people in the city who are unhappy with the fact that the neighborhoods, you have 3 and 4 rental apartments in a home. There's not enough parking. There's vagrants coming in and out. There's substance abuse issues in these multi-use homes. We get calls continually in code about this. This is a protection for that.
Okay, so if someone wants to, say if they purchase this property, if this zoning ordinance passes, if someone wants to purchase this property and say they want to put, apartments, like, nicer apartments. So if they come to planning and zoning, we're just gonna tell them no, because it's a multifamily?
That's within your purview, yes, that's why you sit on those boards, is so you can say, you know what, I don't believe the neighborhood or the neighbors that are there, the people who already living there, want that there, so you won't be able to do that. They'll be able to do their due diligence before they buy it. They will know what it's zoned like, and if they prefer not to buy it, zoned R2, they don't have to buy it.
I'm just saying, for a city that struggles even, has a housing shortage.
A city will struggle more if someone buys it in R3 and makes it into a building that's 6,000 square feet and turns that into a slum, I assure you. That will have more detrimental effects than someone having to come to the city and say, I want to build an apartment, here's my plan, here's my funding, will you approve it? I assure you the first option is much worse for the city.
One of the biggest issues that we face in the city is slumlords. Streets like Clay Street has been allowed to turn once big single-family homes into 4, even 5 apartments, which destroys parking, which destroys the whole fabric of that neighborhood. I mean, slumlords is one of our biggest issues, and it's not even, I can make an argument on that all day. People complain about it all the time. Constantly get emails, phone calls. we've seen it, been on the streets. Not allowing our planning and zoning to have a say in things has allowed this city to really suffer.
What I can't get is that we're predicting that a slumlord is gonna buy this at auction.
Based on past behavior, I'd say there's a pretty good chance.
I mean,
of that.
they auctioned off Adamston Elementary, it's a school now.
That's not the rule, that's the exception. Just like Stony Brook Memorial School was that applied.
We,
Historically, if you've been around here, like, I mean, I grew up around the school, I mean, historically, this is what we must protect.
I mean,
So I have a question. Most of Northview is an R zoned R1,
R1,
right?
yes.
If we really wanted to be restrictive, we would move this to an R1 to match the rest of the neighborhood. I also think that it's important to note whether it's an R1, R2, R3, R4. A school can go into any of those things. So if this goes to auction, a school can buy it, even if we would move it to an R1. And
it would have to be demoed first, though.
No, it wouldn't.
Schools are an
It
exception.
goes in.
Schools are an exception.
And I think we can note that the Bridgeport schools are zoned R1s, right?
Yes, they are.
So I think what we're doing here is being fair to the Board of Education, and we're being fair to anyone who would bid on that building. Because we aren't going to change the rules mid-game. We're saying right now, we are zoning this in a way that matches what the neighborhood is, okay? And this is us not closing any door, because we've seen this with commercial developers. There are people that have more money than they know what to do with, or that they really have a plan hatched. They say, well, I can buy a 6,000 square foot building for this much per square foot. That's a deal. And then we get buildings that aren't used and they burn down. I think we have to learn from the errors of the past and be proactive. And I'm not going to speak for everybody in Northview, but I live a block from the school. I live on Pride Avenue, at the between 20th and 21st, and I see that school every day when I come out of my front door. If that school burns down, I'm worried about my neighbors, worried about me. If that school is allowed to turn into slums, I'm worried about the whole neighborhood. We would lose control of one of our biggest residential neighborhoods in this city.
So let me ask you this.
Sure.
So if if we pass this tonight.
Yeah.
And there's more restrictions, say if it doesn't go to auction because of this ordinance, say if this sits there, this crumbles, vagrants get in and out of it, go in and out of it. Down the road, it'd probably be a lot harder to even get a developer in there.
I don't disagree, Councilman. I would say that I already know of one instance where people have gotten into the school. I know because a neighbor took a video, sent it to me after they called the police. I know it's already happened. Okay?
I mean, my concerns is just that, we're restricting people's ability to buy this at the auction.
We're not restricting their right. If you have the money and you have a plan, they can come here. I will be more than happy to look at a plan that the Zoning and Planning Commission say, yes, this is a good use for the building. Now, I think we also have to consider state law. If Northview Elementary or WI would both sit empty for an extended period of time, and we don't know how long the extended period of time is, a charter school could come and take that building for free. So I think there is some kind of incentive for, I still think that the best outcome is for the city and the Board of Education to come together and work to find somebody who can develop that building responsibly and in a sustainable way.
And you think doing this is gonna nurture that relationship?
Well, it hasn't gone anywhere so far. And, let's take a look at, in realistic terms, let's look back at all the schools. Alta Vista, burned down. Central Junior High stood over there until it fell down. Linden, still standing over there, it's empty. Broadway went up in fire. I mean, basically, these schools haven't had a good history after they've been closed. All we're doing is putting some guardrails around this thing. Anybody coming in can read this on the front end to say, well, there are some parameters on this. I'm going to have to do my homework before I actually put some dollars on the table. I mean, we're not saying you can't buy the building. You can buy the building. But you know what? There are guidelines that you're going to have to follow. You just can't buy the building, let it sit there, or buy the building and put anything else that you want in there. There's guidelines, and it needs to be that way.
To answer your question, I think we have been trying to foster that relationship for several months now. And for lots of reasons, things are kind of at an impasse, I guess. And do I hope that we all come back to the table? Absolutely. I think I've been very vocal about that. But right now, I think that what is the most responsible action as somebody who is responsible for the city is to act with the information that I have. The information that I have right now is that building is an outlier in the zoning of the city or of the neighborhood. And what it can do, what the damage that can be done if development is not done responsibly with someone with a proven track record, could be debilitating for the neighborhood that I live in, that I grew up in, and that is an important residential neighborhood in our city.
And I appreciate that. I mean, it's a double-edged sword either
Sure.
way. But I appreciate your comments, and that's why I ask these questions.
Yeah, and I acknowledge that this isn't necessarily going to be the most popular decision. And could this, be the nail in the coffin that ends conversations and they say, let it become whatever? Yeah, it could be. But
I have applications down the road if we have another project. I hope not.
Well, I agree. I think that, again, we're all adults. I respect everyone here. I respect everyone at the Board of Education. I think we have to act in the best interest of the city right now, which is to change the zoning to match the neighborhood.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and ask questions.
Anybody else?
You too.
Just a few?
Yeah. So do we know if the BOE has completed the appraisal process yet? They have not. Do we know how long after they receive the appraisal of the timeline the auction will take place? Do we know that?
They have to put that up for a bid as well, for an auctioneer. So I
think they were.
I think they did that.
They did it at the same time.
Yeah, they
Okay.
did. So I didn't know. I mean,
I haven't received anything official from Dora stating how long that's going to take. I did speak to her Monday, but I didn't get that information.
well, if you don't mind, when we follow up with her on a conversation, just kind of find out that timeline, just so we know. And then, the only other, I guess, statement I would make is that, the P and Z, I'll just remind everybody, is just a recommending body on the zone. So if somebody were to come in and request it to be zoned whatever after the purchase, the council still has the opportunity to overrule the recommendation of P and Z. So I just want to make that clear, that it's not a final decision of P and Z. I'll call it.
Any other comments? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Consideration of first reading of an ordinance of the city of Clarksburg to amend zoning ordinance to rezone and reclassify 443 Lee Avenue from an R4 to an R2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Consideration of a resolution of the city of Clarksburg, West Virginia to offer right-of-way and easement agreement to Upland Trains LP.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Just a quick question. So in this agreement, we are, just to reiterate, I guess, we are not abandoning this right of way, correct? We're just, okay. All right.
It started out as their standard pipeline right away they offer everybody. I don't expect them to accept our offer based on what we've changed about it, but it's essentially their basic pipeline right away that you would have as a private landowner.
So the offer,
Their offer to us was $22,000.
okay,
The city manager asked me to go back with $20,000 a year. My plan, if council approves this, is I'm sending it to Kendall Energy, the Wolf Summit entity, and saying, here you go, council approved it, you all go negotiate with EQT and get it done.
I just wanted to go back to the company and say a one-time fee wasn't enough. It's every year we need to be paid a fee. I agree with Mr. Marsh that they'll probably come back with another number and I'll come back to council, but to me, this was a starting point for us. Because the initial agreement, all they had was one fee when they put it on the ground.
that was the 22, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's 22 and change.
Okay, in the agreement, on number 5, it states it correctly, that's 20, but at the end of the agreement, declaration of consideration of value, just, you might want that number to reflect that same amount under the consideration.
I'll fix that, Councilman. So the way they want to do these deals is they want to put in for that 20,000, they just want to put $1 in there and do an order of payment. Again, I've gone back and forth with them for months, and at this point, I want a clean agreement. If, for example, the first agreement they sent us wanted us to litigate any action in Pennsylvania, and I was like, well, we're not doing that. So I'll correct that, and I'll go through, and if there's anything else that I think should be changed that aren't substantive to council, we'll change that.
How many feet is the pipeline?
It can't be that much. It only goes across the northeastern corner of the property.
We'll find the exact measure.
Yeah, I can map it in a rough idea here.
Anyone else? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Consideration of the renewal of the C&D Phase 4 landfill and the permit for a new non-commercial 2-acre C&D landfill Phase 5.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Consideration of appointment to the Fire Civil Service Commission.
Mr. Mayor, I move we appoint Jeff Strange to the Fire Civil Service Commission.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Just real quick, does he serve currently on there, or does he serve on another board or commission?
On this one.
On this?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
all right,
he came
I'm
in
good.
at the very end of Joe Schaefer's term
Yeah.
when he got elected to be a judge. So we had to renew, but we did post it. He was the only application that we got for that posting.
Anyone else? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Council comments? Mr. Hyman? would you-
I appreciate it. I'm sorry I couldn't make it tonight. We're having some flight issues with a flight out of Charlotte to Clarksburg here. It's been delayed 3 times, so unfortunately I couldn't make it. Hope to be back next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good vacation. Or good trip home.
That's what we thought.
Mr. Ward?
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just want to recognize the fire department, 256 calls this month. That's amazing. And the police department with 1,950 calls. There's a lot of work going on out there. Our public works, with the community cleanup, that's got to be hard work. A lot of folks, I wouldn't say a lot of folks, but some properties you go up, you approach, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff that could fill up a whole truck, and that's got to be a long day for somebody. But I think it's a vital service that we provide for the city for free, both in the spring and the fall. And I think it's a good way to keep our city a lot cleaner too. Because if not, we eventually see a lot of this old stuff getting thrown down over the hill. And I just want to thank our public works for doing that too. The folks over at the Robinson Grand, doing a stellar job. We've been to a couple events there. I tell you what a world-class venue that we have, and world-class staff that we have there too. So, other than that, I wish everybody a great weekend. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Howe.
Yes. Do we have any update on the letters that were sent to Nutter to the county?
The county it's going on their next agenda. And Nutter asked for information which has been sent, and we should hear back from them shortly as well, I believe.
So I guess it's more of a comment, maybe, code department. So I'd like to make sure that they're communicating with individuals that do receive notice violations or citations a little bit better. I got several complaints, but one individual is a very long-standing business owner in town, and he made a call to the code office, said he was going to get a call back, never received a call back. He was calling, he told them the issue was rectified, taken care of, and he received it in July. As of September 28th, he received a citation to appear in court. He's very upset with that. I don't blame him. The area in question was cleared, and a lot of the other brush was sprayed to die, and the other parts of the property there's no access to right now. So I just would like for code to make sure they follow up with people who do call in to speak directly with the code officers. We're going through a lot of issues here with town and construction, and these businesses are putting up with a lot. So I just think, obviously we just owe them respect regardless, because they're putting up with it and moving along. So just make sure they please call them back. It's very important communication. And then I did take some pictures of the paperwork too. I can provide you.
If you send that to me, I will take care of that right away.
Yep. And then can we get an update on the former Greenbrier property on Route 20 where the car wrecked over a year ago? The plywood that was put in place of the bricks, I think it should have been fixed by now, or something needs to happen. I believe, from my understanding, they've received insurance payment a while back. The plywood's never been painted. It's a very nice neighborhood over there behind there, and I have several people there also complaining to me that's just disappointing to continue to look at on a daily basis coming in and out of there. And then situate next to it was the Greenbrier Hotel. If we could just get an update there, who owns it, what the plans are for the future. I know the previous owner sold it, but I don't even know who owns it now or what their plans are, if it's just going to sit vacant or anything like that. So if we can just get an update on that. The landfill, the phase 5, I have a great respect for Sam Muncie. And he worked for the city for MSES for decades, and during all the previous C&D landfills. He definitely understands what he's doing. He's very proficient. He's a great professional. I guess I would just want to make sure too that the city is doing a lot of the legwork as well going in the future, just to continue to reduce. This cost isn't bad for Sam Muncie's company, but just to make sure that we're doing a lot of the legwork in the permitting prior to them coming in to make sure the costs do remain low. I know in the past, the city administration used to fill out the paperwork and fill out as much as it could, and it typically would save about $10,000 on the project. So I'll just request that we continue that as well. And then I don't know how you can handle this, but I think, if you could have city staff or yourself or anybody else you desire, with the federal government shut down, making cuts, nonprofits are really taking a hit. And I'd hate to see another nonprofit such as the Y close its doors when they're offering so many services to the community. We have so many of them that work, just like the senior center, library, which are quasi-governmental entities that do receive funding from the city and the county. But we really need to check what their stability is and how much they're relying upon some of those grants coming in to keep them viable. Because I'd really hate to see us be blindsided, I guess again, that if one of these types of entities that provide these types of services to a lot of our residents in the area, we get notified a month from now that they're going to have to close the doors, or they're here requesting funds that we don't have to be able to keep the doors open. So, I don't know if there's a way we can just check, mainly on the ones that we probably contribute to now. I think those are the ones that we're probably most worried about, since we have skin in the game on those, just to make sure what the viability is going forward as well. That's it. Just thank the firemen for coming out, continuing the tradition of paying attention to what's going on in the city. And also thanks for the public coming out. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you to Mr. Alavito for speaking. I'm not old enough to remember the Y anywhere else up on the hill, but up on the hill. And as we've gone through this process of the Y closing, it got me to thinking. I understand it was built at a different time, but especially with the way Clarksburg is set up now, and it's really not accessible up on the hill. I think WI would be a great location for a youth community center, health club, YMCA type facility. Unfortunately, we've got to play the cards that we're dealt. We have the Y in our real estate portfolio now, and that's what we have to work with. So I appreciate all of the work that the city manager is doing on the Y project. I do ask, since we've got 2 weeks until our next meeting, I know it's going to be a busy couple of weeks, especially as we've got high school swim teams are getting ready for season. Can you please, maybe once or twice a week, kind of just update council to what is happening with the properties, conversations that are being had, just so we know. When we got an email this morning from some constituents who were asking, I didn't have an answer. I do appreciate you responding to that, but I would like to have at least a basic answer that I can give before asking for more information. I did hear that you talked that there were 3 encampments that were cleared. I was just wondering, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the passage of the camping ordinance. Has the camping ordinance been used since we passed it?
Well, every time there's an encampment, the camping ordinance has been used. But now that we have our outreach liaison,
Sure.
she's participating in that. We even got, calls about a couple of unhoused people living at a Methodist church. And she went out, she was able to get one of them into rehabilitative care.
Right.
And the other one, relocated.
Yeah.
Outside of sleeping on church staff, so.
Well, and I do appreciate that, and it wasn't within our control, but I really wish we would have had that social worker aspect in place before we passed the camping ordinance, but neither here nor there. Councilmember Hyman had asked at one point that we be notified when there was.
He asked me to track it, and we are tracking it.
Oh,
So-
can we see that on? Could we see that in the next week or so?
Probably not with the Y, but once I combine that with everything the social work is doing, so we're doing one larger report and everything's redacted, I will send that out.
Okay.
I will get it to you as soon as possible.
Okay. We had talked in the beginning part of September. I had asked for plans for neighborhood revitalization, all these drafts of plans that we were talking about. Obviously we've got the Y on our hands, and so I'm not suggesting that we have a conversation at the next meeting, but can we see drafts of these plans just to read?
I'm working through them, and I will send them to council when they're at a state that I'm comfortable sending them to council. I do apologize, but in the span of a few weeks, stuff has come up that's just, I've had to refocus.
And
So I do apologize.
I do respect that. We had this conversation in November of '24 with the idea that they were going to be rolled out in February and March of '25, and now it's October of '25. So, I would like to see those as soon as possible. I do have a question about paving.
Our paving program,
Right. Well, it's not about the current paving program, and this might not be you might not be the person to answer this. But the road work in Northview has escalated very quickly, and the roads are tore up. Now, is the plan? And I know that construction is going to take. They told us 2 years.
30 months.
2.5 years. Okay, even better. My wife's gonna love that answer. But is it going to be? Is it going to be 30 months before we get any paving done?
I don't have that answer.
Okay.
It's waterborne construction, but
Okay.
I can try to find that out for you.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. And I can also push that question to Jason Myers.
I would say that that's the last thing you're gonna see happen.
Okay. The last thing, I did have some people reach out to me about some concerns with the trick or treat. We had talked about
The Thursday date?
the Thursday date.
Okay.
They would have rather have seen it on Friday. Yeah, please.
So I've always advocated for it as well.
Yeah, well, and
Again,
you and I both did.
So one thing which I agree with, is that I think Bridgeport and other cities announced theirs before ours, and if we didn't do the same day, we would get overloaded with more people coming to our neighborhoods, people running out of candy quicker. I still would love to have been able to get on the weekend, I think the kids would enjoy it more, but when another city does it first, maybe something that we can maybe address the mayor's council, maybe we can talk to them and say, hey, let's get on the same page with this, because we kind of almost have to, and I hate to say that, do it at the same time as other cities, because they will come from everywhere.
Well-
Trunk or treats, like you come, there's thousands of kids.
Well, and that's a good point. The thing that we have in our favor next year is that it'll be
On Friday.
it'll be on Saturday.
So our day's Friday.
No,
No.
Our day's Saturday.
We should
Well, we
do
have to
it.
vote on it, right?
Yeah, well, I have to
Maybe we'll
vote.
go Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't.
What if we do it all weekend? But the general gist of what I've heard from people is that they prefer a weekend date, whether that's Friday night, Saturday. I had even somebody suggested to move it to whatever the Saturday before would be, the 25th, and I know. I'm not suggesting that we move the date for this year. I'm just making council aware of.
But what Councilmember Ripple said when I talked to our city clerk about it, she says we always do the same days for that reason.
Sure. Well, and then maybe that's a situation I agree with Vice Mayor Riffle. We try to work that out with the Mayor's Association to come to an agreement.
But I will say, Councilman Dean, I was unaware, because it was brought to my attention when an individual complained to me about it. I was unaware there was no home. I thought we were doing it because there was a football game.
I also thought
There are no football games in Clarksburg on that night. So I probably would have adjusted my vote to no, but.
But you don't want to be the guy who voted against.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, I was told he has football games, so maybe I shouldn't be told wrongly.
Well, there's usually our football games on Friday night.
All right. And again, Councilmember Worth, thank you for a great conversation. I enjoyed that. I always enjoy hearing what you have to say. And thank you for being a good sport. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jackson?
I would just like to thank everyone for coming out and taking time to be involved in the process. Those who are here in the gallery and those who signed online. I'm glad that we make a move to rezone those properties. We have to have skin in the game. We have to have some say in what's going on in the city. We can't just allow things to happen and just hope for the best. Because as we've seen over the past years, the best doesn't always happen. So we have to have some guidelines there. But other than that, I'll go to where I always go after every meeting. I keep hearing from folks about these roads. I understand, folks. You know what? I'm driving on the same streets, the same roads as you are. They're beat up. You know what? Progress is painful, and it's going to take a while. People have asked me, the same people have asked me over and over, when are these going to be done? It's the same day. It takes time. This is a big project. We're blessed that there's enough money out there right now to be able to get these things done so that we can actually continue to build and grow our city. So, I understand, the frustration that people are dealing with because I deal with it too. And, there have been occasions where I've had to stop and ask some of the flaggers, why is the street closed sign all the way halfway in the street, instead of at the beginning of the street? They say, all you have to do is just turn around. Yeah, in somebody's driveway. So, I get the frustration, but I would just like to say thank you to all the citizens, for their patience, in dealing with this situation until we get it finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Vice Mayor?
The roads are bad. Even walking over here, they have the alleyway behind us cut open. They wanted me to walk all around. I just jumped over. I probably should have done that, but I guess I still have the skills to do that. So I did it. They weren't happy. But even if you're walking, you run into it. So I get it.
Lord.
I want to thank Code Enforcement and Mr. Bonamico, Mr. Lane, for taking on the task of working on mapping. I know you guys are probably tired of me talking about it, but I really think it'll change the game and change how our city is, how we respond to it, how we stay on top of things. We can start seeing problems before they happen. We can get on top of neighborhoods with heat mapping and things, and we can really see our problems before the phone calls come in. And I think that will make efficiency for our code enforcement and our public works And eventually, hopefully, all departments can, I think the police department already uses mapping for certain things, and I think all departments can benefit from this. So, as for our GIS, I'm going to keep pushing it, but I appreciate it, and I think you guys get it. So, just want to thank your time for that. Zoning, things that we voted on tonight, I feel like a lot of times, especially with some op-eds and certain people's opinions of what's going on in our city, I feel like it's us against the world a lot of times, which is fine with me, because, well, I'm a fighter, we're fighters, and I think sometimes when things that happen, it feels like it's us against the world, like, really. When the wash shut down, I want to thank the staff, there was times, especially early in my council time, that we weren't on top of things, or we weren't aware of things that happen in the city. That is no longer the case. When I call, or send an email or whatever it is, they're already 2 steps ahead. And knowing that is such a relief for me. I can relax a little bit more, quit calling as much. But I feel like we really are connected to our city, and we know what our people want more than anybody else. Not us, but the people in our city know what we want, know what we need. So those outsiders that want to tell us what we need, we already know. So, appreciate everybody's, being connected to things like that. See, First Friday's coming up, be October 11th. Also, International Space Week that's coming up, so that's exciting too. So, to the stars, get your telescopes out, get your kids out. The world is a better place when we're looking to the stars, right? We don't look to the stars anymore, but they're still up there, so we have to check them out. Let's see where. There's a great event by the United Way coming up called Playing Pool. I don't know who signed up. I know there's a team that political people that were going to try to pull the plane. I'm excited for it. I don't know who the rest is on the team, but hopefully everybody stretches and gets strength for that and we'll pull the plane. So it's a great idea. I love thinking outside the box. I love things like that. So we think United Way, whoever came up with that idea, the CKB, everybody that helped them pull in just to pull in money too as well. So also the CK, or the CKB, but the Clarksburg History Museum came out with this awesome newspaper for kids. It's telling the story about our history. It's a newspaper. I want everybody please check it out. I didn't even know they were doing it, and I just saw it, and I was like, I'm going to trade through me to get it. It's pretty cool. Kids will love it. It's got games and things throughout it. It tells our history the way the kids can understand it better. We have an amazing history, so definitely get the copy of that for your kids. And that's about it. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have to agree with everything that was said here. I'd like to make the comment that, these gentlemen up here, their hearts are in the city. And, we try to do what we think is right for the city, and I appreciate all of you guys. If you see something, say something, pick up the phone and dial 911. Appreciate everybody coming out. Have a nice weekend.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?